Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. We're back after a little bit of a layoff. Got my boy John Tran here.
What's up?
We got some bye-week thoughts. We're going to get into all the good, the bad, the ugly going on around the Texas football program. John, what's good, man?
I was kind of happy to see welcome a bye week after the TCU loss. So
Try to get fresh, get healthy. First off, guys, we got our sponsors, Boss's Ranch. We got our Red River Ranch flavor here. Tremendous product. Go check them out. Your local HEB in the cold produce section. We are getting incredible feedback about this product. Mm-hmm. Our boy Jimmy just hit us up. Yeah, just texted us that he got his Boss's Ranch for NFL Sunday with his pizza. Guys, trust me, I do not promote things that I don't personally believe in or use. And this has become one of the staple of salads, pizzas, all those type of things. Great tailgate options. So go check them out. Boss's Ranch, HEB Cold Produce. Shout out to Bosses and Laura. You guys are doing a phenomenal job over there. We also have a few quick channel announcements before we get into our bye week conversation. So we are not doing Kansas State prep today. We will get to that later this week. We'll probably do that under a live chat format, which will be really, kind of bouncing off of each other. And I think that'll be pretty cool. For my boxing fans, Canelo Alvarez had a big victory over Sergey Kovalev last night with the knockout, putting him out cold. Mm-hmm. I'll have my reaction video. I still have to go through and break down all the rounds, but
he looks sharp.
Yeah, Canelo is now your light heavyweight champion. We'll have our Cowboys stuff tomorrow night as they play the Giants on Monday night. And one fun video we will be doing this week, I will be sitting down with Billy Moreau, who was kind enough to visit during the LSU game, who was our LSU fan. And one of the things I promised him after LSU defeated my Texas Longhorns was that he would get some airtime before Bama to go on with my other friend, Tyler Dixon. So I'm going to be doing an LSU versus Alabama preview with Billy and Tyler. And they are both, Billy's a diehard LSU fan. Tyler's a diehard Alabama fan. It's going to be a really fun video. I'm going to sit down with those guys and interview them. It's probably the biggest game of the college football season.
Oh, no doubt about it, right? 100%.
Number one versus number two. So it'll be really cool to get their feedback. And a lot of you guys that were on, you guys really enjoyed Billy's thoughts. And like I said, we always like to have opposing fans on here. We'll have Brandon back on here at one point to talk some more A&M. So just, we try to be as inclusive as possible on the channel. With all that being said, I'm done with the announcements, Tran. I did the live last week after TCU, and we watched the game together. Coming off, here's where I'm going to start with you because I want to kind of go more big picture. Coming off of TCU, you've rewatched the game a couple times. You've sat with everything this week. We talked about some of the games, the 3 Big 12 games that we had this past week. Just where's your head at with this Texas football program?
Well, you and I, when we were sitting down watching the game, we actually at one point in the game, we looked over at each other and we said, what did we say?
Something's going on in the locker room. Something's wrong with the chemistry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was just the way that the offense made a big play. They scored a touchdown. I think it was the Duvernay touchdown. Mm-hmm. And it was just the offense celebrating. You didn't see anyone on the sideline really celebrating except the walk-ons who were there to try to hype up the kickoff. All teams do that. But the defense, it didn't look like that they were into the game. And to us, that kind of
the body language.
Yeah, it just set up a red flag to us that I'm not saying that the coaching staff has lost the locker room or anything like that, but it's divided. And this week, I think Tom Herman came forward and said, we need a lot of stuff to work on, mainly relationships, where he's talking about the underclassmen and the upperclassmen all have different thought processes. The upperclassmen, their thought process is probably going through their mind is that, hey, we need to win because we're
sense of urgency.
We're about to leave. The underclassmen weren't there when we were losing constantly, when we weren't winning games, when we weren't expected to be in the Big 12 championship. So they don't understand really right now at this point in their career what it takes to get there. And they're not really leaning on the senior and junior leadership to tell them what it takes to get to that point. And it's just causing it seems like it's causing a huge conflict.
So let me ask you this: what's the mindset of the young guys of the underclassmen?
Honestly, their thought process, I think that they can just win with talent. Just so once they get in the motion and once they get more experience. But the thing is, one of the biggest issues that Texas has had for the past 8-9 years when we weren't winning is we didn't have quarterback play. Well, guess what? We're only going to have Sam Elliott for another year. Mm-hmm. Who's to say that we have someone who's on his level, quarterback play wise, coming in or on the roster currently? It was so hard to find Sam for us these past 7 years. We were talking about it, like
the gap between Colt McCoy. Yeah.
So if you guys want to win, I mean, now's the time to win. You have that figurehead playing the most important position for Texas is the quarterback position. Sure. So we need to do that. Yes, we're dealing with a lot of injuries, and that's what the bye week's so great about. Is that I know there's a lot of names that are coming back this week.
Yeah, man.
So
we're gonna get Caden Stearns back. We already got Jalen Green back before, DeMarvion Overshawn, BJ Foster. Mm-hmm. Guys we were really missing, right? And on top of that, just mending up some of the things. I think one of the things that can be a shot in the arm for this football team is the reintroduction to Jordan Whittington.
Yes.
Right? We saw him really briefly in Louisiana Tech. He went down, and that was a guy who everybody was super excited about. Coaches, fans, team, he was our guy, and he went down. So just not saying that he's going to come in there and be the workhorse over a Roshan or Keontae Ingram, guys who have been playing well the last couple of weeks, but just the energy and the life of another player coming in, and because of his work ethic. I think from a defensive standpoint, and just like you said, the relationship aspect, all this stuff we're talking about is just being on the same page. Mm-hmm. I think it goes into communication. I think it goes into guys being able to go back to play some of the positions that they were originally playing and not being asked to play out of position. So I think those are all good, positive things that could come about for Texas. But at the end of the day, this season's going to go one of two ways, right? Yep. We're kind of like the fork in the road right now. I think it's either you use this as the point to develop this kind of us against the world mentality. Hey, dispel these notions of a broken locker room or lack of leadership or any of that stuff. Like, now's the time to rally together these last 4 games, and your goal is still in front of you. When they started this season, the goal was to get back to Arlington and finish. Mm-hmm. Because that's where they left off last year. They got to Arlington last year and they lost in the Big 12 championship game. The goal this year was to get back there and finish and win the Big 12 championship. Technically, right now, yes, I know that they're not fully in control of their destiny. But if they handle their business in the next 4 games, Tom Herman says, what does he say? All the time. Your best is good enough. Mm-hmm. We got to see that these last 4.
No, I absolutely agree with it. If we play our best game, I think we can beat any team in the Big 12. I do.
I agree with you.
I feel if we play our best game and play with intensity and effort, we can play with any team in the nation, I think. I really do. I really believe that.
And I agree with you. I still feel that way about this team. Now, the issues that we've had is we have not collectively across the 3 units on this team, we don't play complementary football. Some of you may be getting annoyed with me continuously saying that, but that is something I fundamentally believe in. When a unit is down or hurting, another unit can come along and help pick them up or rescue them or whatever, right? We've got to start uplifting guys collectively. Now, we'll get to the coaching staff stuff here in a second, but we're just talking about big picture team-wise right now, right? I think getting guys back will help. I think when you're losing and guys aren't playing well, so to the question I asked you earlier about the underclassmen, I think some of their frustration is, hey, some of these guys ahead of us aren't playing great. We deserve some opportunities or some playing time, or certain reps haven't come our way. Like, I'll use Marcus Washington as an example. Hey, you guys are going to play Brennan Eagles for whatever reason, and then you go 80% John Burt. Like, is that the move? You know what I mean? Like, I think there's that, and the other thing is, like, I've actually shown the little bit I have played that I can play.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some so is that frustration pointed at the upperclassmen? Is that frustration pointed at the coaching staff? I think there needs to also be a little bit more transparency as to the why with these kids, because one thing we don't know is what was told to them when they were recruited to come here and what the expectations are. I'm big on expectations, not only with this fan base, but also with kids and how they're treated when they come in here. Right now, we're trying to set expectations with a recruit like a Bajan Robinson out of Arizona, right? So if we're going to say...
he knows he's going to play.
Right. But we're telling him, let's say we're telling him, hey, you come in here, you handle your business, you're going to play. But then he sees Keontae Ingram getting 14 carries when he's rolling. Is that the move? Or he sees 1 week Roshan gets 20 carries, and then we inexplicably forget to get him the football the next week. These are things that guys are paying attention to. And I think that's where some of the frustration is coming in from the younger guys. And I get it from the upperclassmen. They're like, dude, we were losing. We don't care about that stuff. We're trying to win. They've got to marry that and come to the same page, because you don't want to hear your coaching staff or your head coach say, we need to work on relationships
in the middle of a season.
What, week 11?
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy, right?
It's wrong.
But John, fork in the road. You're either going to go 6-6 or 7-5 and not come together and finish in massive disappointment and lose more recruits, or you're going to turn the ship around and finish strong.
Defensive mindset for me, coming from a defensive background, is I'm hearing all this crap talked about how we can't tackle, we can't do this, we're 130th ranked defense in the nation. I'm pulling a Tyler Owens, and I'm, especially against a physical team like Kansas State, I'm coming out and I'm laying the lumber. You know, Tyler Owens, you said when Brandon Jones picked off that pass, Tyler Owens just killed someone. That's what you said.
He blasted Jalen Rigger.
Yes, he got a penalty for it. I don't think he deserved a penalty off of that one. I don't think it was a crackback law.
Yeah, I like.
But I liked how physical he was, and it set a precedent that you weren't going to be bullied around. Mm-hmm. After that, you know, it seemed like that we were a little timid. But you know, I'm like you were saying about OU. OU came in with the mindset that, hey, we're gonna be the more physical team. I don't care how many penalties we get.
Alex Grinch was like, I don't care about personal fouls, man. So I want y'all to be bullies.
I want to see them be tough. I want to see, because they have the athleticism to play with anyone, and we know this. They were able to hold LSU to less points than what.
Well, even just points in the game against LSU, points in the game against Oklahoma, like. We've seen this defense play well in stretches. I think some of the stuff is being overblown because we take stuff out of context, and because the offense turns the ball over, or special teams gap, like even Oklahoma State. Matthew and I were talking about that earlier, how people have gotten short fields against us all season. That goes on the defense's tab at the end of the night, right? But so that also plays into it. And goes back to my point about complementary football.
But it also goes back to another point that you made, is that we are getting people back. And it's not just the depth issue or anything like that. It's putting people in their natural positions. We've had Brandon Jones in the slot, and honestly, he's not a cover.
And that's he's not.
We get to move him back to his natural position as safety, where he can see the whole field and he can play at the line of scrimmage or anything like that. We get Overshown back, where he can be the joker linebacker you were talking about, allowing Osai to actually blitz a little bit more and not from distance.
Yeah, so that actually leads me to the next part of our agenda today, is to really kind of go into this coaching staff and some of the things that Tom Herman is going to be faced with and what we're looking at, because a lot of the criticism has been around our defensive scheme. We currently deploy a 3-3-5 look, and Todd Orlando, one of the criticisms that he's had is, hey, we don't show enough 4-down linemen, or, you know, four-man front look. Hey, we're not having a lot of guys in the line of scrimmage. Our blitzes are ineffective. We blitz from depth too much. Quarterback will do a hard count, and then we, clearly shows who's coming. We don't check out of it. Just some of your thoughts around that, as well as, just the overall coaching staff and getting into the defense around that.
He's not really going to touch the defense. He's not a defensive-minded coach.
Who, Tom
Tom
Herman?
Herman. He's not really.
No, but I'm talking about Todd Orlando.
Okay, so Todd Orlando, yeah. So things that really, I actually don't mind his defensive scheme, the 3-3s, especially in the Big 12. The thing that I'm worried about is us getting pressure with the 3-down linemen, with the blitzing scheme that we actually utilize, like us blitzing from depth, especially when most teams snap the ball from shotgun, shotgun formation. You're blitzing from the closest, from what I'm seeing, is they're blitzing from the linebacker position, which is 5 yards behind the defensive lineman. So that's a total of 15 yards that they have to cover in a 3-step drop. It's not feasible for us to actually get pressure
consistently.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing that, I'm walking the guys up to the line, or having maybe one down lineman and everyone else standing up, and it disguises who you're dropping into coverage and who you're blitzing. So it actually throws off the offensive line on who they're actually blocking, and it allows you to get pressure without even throwing in different stunts or anything like that.
There's a lot of defenses that can be. I've never been a proponent of just straight up criticizing the scheme. I think your scheme has to fit your personnel.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, like, do we have the personnel to run a 3-3-5? I believe we do. Yeah. I don't like the way we run it. Like Baylor, I'm watching Baylor, West Virginia on Thursday night. Baylor's running the exact same defense we are, and they were able to get pressure consistently. Why? You have guys going through the A gap. You have guys, dropping out, showing coverage looks. It's much harder for the offensive line to identify who's coming, who's not. All of a sudden, the safety gets up on a, and their blitzes. They're getting safeties up on an offensive tackle in space where he's able to run around somebody and get up on them quickly.
Use the athleticism.
And condense the pocket. So we're just not executing it well enough. We've talked ad nauseum about our outside contained principles, that not being there. I think one of the things that will help is, you mentioned Joseph Osai, right? Having Joseph Osai, I need to see him rushing 70% of the time, personally. That's his strength, right? Mm-hmm. And he's already a well-rounded football player where, yes, with all the injuries, you got to have him covering on the back end and showing that look. But if he's putting pressure over there and handling his business, the things you can do on the other side, all of a sudden it helps Keandre Coburn. It helps the guys that are blitzing on the other side. But when you have a pass rusher like that, you've got to use them. There's too many times throughout the season on critical downs where I felt like we've got more cute trying to rush people, and then we drop off Osai. You see what I'm saying? Like, and one of the things that I want to talk about with this coaching staff is, throughout this bye week, getting guys to do things that they're good at, playing to their strengths, right? We talked about this, I think, in a previous video. These position coaches, because I'm going to get to these position coaches in a second, but they need to audit all of their players and say, what are the 2 or 3 things that we know this guy does extremely well? All right? Why did we recruit this person? What was our plan in mind when we put him out here? You know what I mean? And then you're building your defense around that, all right?
Around their strengths.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of benefits to the defense that we run, right? In terms of, we were good at stopping the run earlier in the year when we were tackling better, when we had guys there, and that was attributed to the stalemates and the pressure that the defensive line was getting earlier in the season. So those things are still there. Malcolm Roach played very well last week and did generate some pressure against TCU. So to just scrap that whole thing, now getting to the position coaches' bigger picture. One of the things that we've started to kind of talk about is Tom Herman. A lot of criticism around, should he fire like a Jason Washington or Oscar Giles or any of these coaches. Todd Orlando is responsible for the linebackers, or Craig Nybar. All these coaches you look at. I think we're like at a 7-4 split in terms of like offensive coaches to defensive coaches on the staff, which I think is something to look at. But the other thing is, he put them on 1-year contracts. Even after last year. Like the only person I think that's on a multi-year contract is Todd Orlando. So I think he always had a plan to kind of play this out and see, let's give him 1 more year, see how they do. And yeah, he wants to stick to that Dabo Sweeney loyalty model with the staff. But I think he kind of already showed with putting them on those 1-year contracts, he is going to evaluate them and look at that. And that's something that I've been reminded of through this bye week. I mean, the other thing too I wanted to touch on is just the distractions around this football team. All right. So a lot of things play into this, right? You know, we've had we talked last week about the, you know, guys transferring out of the program, some of the decommits. Yeah. And we're going to touch on those things. But one of the things, and you know, that's not helpful is when the negativity in our family. I think it's fair to criticize coaches, but like we've had a lot of people saying we got to fire this person. And it's been a lot of negativity around that. One of the things that hasn't helped in terms of distractions, which was a major one, was Earl Campbell, right? And him coming out and the nonsense
saying we can't win with a white quarterback.
Well, saying Texas needs a black quarterback if they want to win a championship, right? And that was his interview with Kurt Bowles in Austin Statesman or whatever. But you know, I want to have that conversation with you real quick because it's something we need to address. And I'm not trying to, this isn't a political channel or anything like that, but it is something that happened in the Texas program. We're not going to shy away from it and be one of those people that ignores it, because I've noticed a lot of people have chosen to ignore this story or have spoken very briefly of it. Earl Campbell is a guy who's an all-time great Texas football player, Heisman Trophy winner. You know, he has an award named after him. His words mean something. And especially at a time like this where we are, it just added to the toxicity in our program right now. And just forget football for a second. What he said was 100% racist, right? Bottom line, what Earl Campbell said was 100% racist. It was wrong. He was ignorant, misinformed. Throw in whatever else you want to say about that, right? Because Sam Ehlinger, put Sam Ehlinger's name into that too.
My thought is if you trade spots with Sam and Joe Burrow, are LSU still number one team in the nation?
I don't know.
You don't think so?
Because Joe Burrow is such a better passer than Sam.
Okay.
That's just my opinion, but I've seen Joe Burrow make some throws consistently this year. I think they're both very, very, you know, but I don't know. But go ahead.
No. I'm just saying. I'm still thinking they're undefeated this year so far. Even if we switch spots, I just think that system would fit him really well too. Just getting all of his guys in space. I mean, it's technically what we do right now, but. You know, he's not the reason why we're losing these games. Yes, he was a big reason why we lost this last game. But someone brought it. I read a tweet about something. It was like, hey, all those Texas fans who wanted to see what Texas looks like as a football team when Sam Ehlinger's not Superman, you just saw it. And he's been there to actually kind of save us this year.
No, he's carried this team.
And
he has in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that was his worst game of the season by far. Hands down. But, you know, I still think, you know, he's still a young quarterback. And I mean, he's obviously 1 year away. I mean, he's coming back again. And that's not something that needs to be said about the quarterback of your team, especially if you're someone who's a part of the organization, who's a huge part of the organization in the history of Texas. You know,
yeah, I mean, his words matter, and it's very offensive to Sam. It's offensive to, you know, just in general, right? To say, anytime you start to say race is a factor in why somebody can or can't do something, right? So I want to make that clear first. The second thing is it's counterproductive. This is why I'm so pissed with Earl too, right? It's counterproductive because now you're starting to stereotype black quarterbacks again. And that's a very dangerous thing you're getting into, because now you're saying, well, one of the things we fought with the perception of black quarterbacks throughout the last however many years is they're the runners, they're athletic and all that type of stuff. And now Earl's trying to insinuate, well, we need somebody and that's why, again, misinformed. Sam is a mobile quarterback. He is a guy that moves. Now, is he fast or fleet of foot like a Justin Fields or somebody like a Lamar Jackson? No, right? And that's I think that's where Earl was trying to get to in terms of like just the speed from the quarterback position. But in terms of, now you're reinforcing a stereotype also around that's what black quarterbacks do. Last time I checked, Byron Leftwich, Dwayne Haskins, even Warren Moon, those were pocket guys that were black quarterbacks, right? Quarterbacks come in all shapes or sizes. And just the racial component, look, sports is a microcosm of society. And I've always said that, and race is always going to be a part of it, even in the locker room, right? Now, the beauty of sports is the locker room is one of the biggest melting pots we have in America, right? You have Asian teammates, black teammates, white teammates, guys from all sorts of different backgrounds. And it's very disappointing to hear Earl say that. I've also heard people say, this story would be a lot bigger deal if it was a former white player that said that about a black quarterback. I think there's definitely some validity to those statements and those feelings. However, we have to be careful in how we, assess this and judge it, only because we have to keep the same energy both ways, right? So if you're going to be outraged, and I am outraged about what Earl Campbell said, but I'm also outraged about the Penn State booster that wrote a letter to Jonathan Sutherland, the safety, saying that he's offended by him wearing dreads and having tattoos and a gold. So that was obviously a very racist letter that he wrote to a player. And we have a guy in a Ricky Williams who has a statue with dreads.
With dreads, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, all I'm saying is keep that same energy across the board. You can't just be mad about the Penn State Jonathan Sutherland situation and then not say anything about the Earl Campbell situation. And you can't just be mad about the Earl Campbell situation because it's a black man saying about a white man and not have any type of feelings about the Jonathan Sutherland situation. So we have to, be mindful of that. The other thing I would say is this too, Earl, coming from where he came from, and one of the things I think he needs to issue an apology. I haven't seen that yet. And I don't like the fact that he included a player's name. I think context also matters. If this was like a roast and he's telling jokes or whatever, and
everyone's in on the joke.
Everybody's in on the joke,
Yeah,
and he didn't say the player's name, I think that's a little bit different. But when you come out and once you throw color and race into it, you can't do that, period. And I know Manny Acho got into it with Clay Travis and some other people on Twitter about, because he used the analogy, with Red McCombs. I think the Penn State analogy would have been more fitting because Red McCombs, his was more of an implicit racism versus Earl Campbell, explicit racism, right? So, and that also affects recruiting. It affects everything. We have a white quarterback that is committed in Hudson Card, who is coming here. And we have to defend racism at all, or defend against racism at all costs, no matter what school, society, period. But also when it affects our school, we're going to speak about it. We're not going to shy away from stuff like that. So I just want to, put that out there, right? And look, Earl Campbell, if he apologized, because to those other people's points, if this was a white player, we'd be talking about taking that statue down, right? And so Earl's got to apologize and clean that up. I don't care. People always say, well, it's my old grandpa or old whatever. And,
gotta get past that mentality. I'm sorry. You gotta get past that mentality.
You can't excuse that anymore, right? And so all those things have to get addressed. Now, I will say this. Earl Campbell probably growing up experienced some racism.
No.
He was one of the first black people. And so does he maybe harbor some ill will in there? Because growing up, before desegregation and, my mother is around, is probably a little bit younger than him. And she grew up in South Texas having to go pick up barbecue from the back because coloreds were not allowed inside. So I get some of the ill, but it's 2019. You can't say that bullshit. Yeah. Period. And we have to, and first and foremost, he needs to apologize to Sam Ellinger.
It doesn't have to be publicly.
No.
It could just be him and like, hey, I shouldn't have thrown your name out there. Even if he still believes it in that regard. But, if you love Texas and you want to get those recruits that you're talking about, that you want, you're not going to get them with
we have to, just the same way no no matter what, whether it's the Penn State situation, this situation, you have to defend, against that type of stuff. And so it was hurtful to see that from Earl Campbell, and I'm curious to get everyone else's thoughts on the situation. Again, more negativity around the program. Obviously, Jordan Pouncy deciding to transfer. Ethan Pouncy.
The thing I liked about Jordan Pouncey's that I didn't like the decommit. I didn't like that. But Jordan Pouncy, I understood, especially after talking to you. He was like, yeah, where is he at? He's in the slot. Well, he's been here for already 2 years, and he's already been passed by a true freshman. He's got a little while before he even breaks playing time. The thing I liked about him coming forward was he said, "I love the coaching staff. I love this. It's just I want to play. Mm-hmm. I don't, and that's
totally respect that.
100% understandable. And his brother's gonna follow him. We knew that from the get go. We knew that when we offered Jordan back in the day that we were trying to go for both the brothers, get both the brothers here, and so it wasn't a huge shock that decommit happened as well."
Well, the 3 decommits that we've had now, so Joshua Eaton, Princely, and now Ethan Pouncy, is tough because we lost both our outside corners. The only corner now we have right now is Crawford and John Tyler.
Kitten?
And
whatever his name is.
And he's more of a nickel guy that will probably, he reminds me a little bit of Quandre Diggs, but it sucks. It sucks. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, that's a very talented player. It only heightens the intensity that we now need to have for your boy.
For Mr. Keeley?
Yeah.
Because, he was definitely a priority. It should have been a priority regardless.
Well,
it should have been.
You're going to have to pull a rabbit out of your hat on that one.
Hey, did you hear that likeness rights now? No, it's paid. I'm just saying, hey, Texas has its own network, guy.
But I mean, just in terms of it's tough. I have seen some of the other commits though double down. Logan Parr tweeting, hey, I am so excited to get to Texas. Xavier Alford and how them trying to lead the charge and still post photos of them in their Texas swag and whatnot. I think that's good and healthy for the program. And I think if we can continue to develop kind of their camaraderie and their excitement, maybe we can go and get a guy like Akita Ringo right now because losing both of those corners at a position of weakness, and they were both very good looking prospects, perfect size for what we're looking at. It's tough. And it only,
especially Ethan. Ethan looked really good on film too.
And it only hurts Jason Washington's case to come back here more. I mean, that is brutal for him, right? Because you're starting to look at the coaches who we either decide to move on from and not re-sign, or the guys we bring back because they are having some of those wins. And you're looking at a Jason Washington right now. He's a guy I'm concerned about from a job perspective, right? Mm-hmm. I also want to talk about some of the parents. We've had a lot of feedback around parents starting to get frustrated. Everybody's frustrated right now with this program. And parents, hey, my kid's not playing enough, or those type of things. I think right now I want to talk about something called communal accountability. I think we've hit a lot on these coaches, rightfully so. Tom Herman said, don't blame the player, blame the coach. Mm-hmm. You remember him saying that?
Yep.
But at some point, everybody's got to take accountability and be responsible for themselves, right? Parents, players. And what do I mean by that? Be real with yourself and your kid, because none of us are there in practice but the kids and the coaches. If you're not earning it on the field and you're not getting the playing time you want, or then they put you out there and you look ill-prepared, yes, that is someone on the coach, but some of these things that, whether it's tackling or not being able to find the football, you should be able to do that at high school level. And some of the things, you guys have to take accountability for yourselves and your own performance. Be real with yourself. I don't want to hear you complaining about playing time and then you get out there and you're getting toasted all the damn time. You know what I mean? And then your mama on Twitter, saying, ooh. Now, most of the parents that are on Twitter and on social media are fantastic, right? And realistic and root for this program. I love Byron Bonds' mom on Twitter. She's fantastic. Yeah, she's awesome. And those aren't the type of parents I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ones that just jump on there. And sometimes they may have a valid point. I get it. But at the same token, have you talked to your kid first and held them accountable? And so everybody's got to start holding themselves accountable in this program, kids included. That's what takes you from being a kid to a young man, right? So communal accountability across the board. Help me help you, in a sense. The last thing I want to address is just going into K-State. Well, I know you had a point just about something you wanted to kind of dive into with Tom Herman and his track record and some of the things you're paying attention to that he may need to sharpen up as a head coach.
So I wasn't paying attention to it until this week, honestly. And I was just thinking back, and I'm just like, why every single year does it seem like we have a loss to a team that we shouldn't lose to? And it specifically, Tom Herman has those. So, I mean, so I went back his whole history as a head coach. And, you know, it seems like it's a mid-season lull. And I don't know if it's just coincidence. And it's been 5 years now of a use case of in October and early November that they've had like a WTF loss. Like, are you kidding me? Like the undefeated year where they were dominating in Houston's first year, they lost to UConn. That was their only loss throughout the whole season. I mean, they should not have lost to UConn. I know they had Byron Jones on that team, but Byron Jones should not be the full team.
Was he there?
I think he was there in 2015.
I think that was it. Oh, whether it was, yeah, but still.
But then 2016, this is the year that they started off beating OU, and they're ranked number 6 going into Powerhouse Navy, where they lost to Navy in October 8th. Then they beat Tulsa the next week, then lost to SMU back-to-back. And that was all in the month of October. Then 2017.
Time out. And you could also make the argument that he was starting to lose his Houston team there because of all the whispers about Texas and LSU.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So I do remember that stuff.
Yeah, that's right. And then 2017 was his first year here. We lost to Oklahoma. Then the week after, we lost to OSU by, I think, 3. We went into overtime, and I think Sam threw that interception or whatever.
Yeah, that was at home. I was at that.
Then we beat Baylor, and then we lost to TCU again. So it was another midseason little drop-off in product of play.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, of course, we beat Oklahoma. Then we went to the bye. Then we had back-to-back losses, one to OSU, one to West Virginia. And that was October 27th and November 11th, and then we've had this so far. We lost to OU, which, you know, it's our rival, and they're a good team.
Yeah, didn't play well in Kansas.
Played terrible in Kansas, and then played terrible again to TCU. So I'm wondering if this is just a pattern for him, and he'll be able to turn this around. Hopefully so, and we can win out the rest of the year. But at the same time, I mean, if that's happening, where he's having a midseason lull, he needs to have some self-reflection on that and what he's doing wrong, and encouraging the team or hyping the team up for this midseason portion of the schedule, because that is a hard portion of the schedule.
I know. So I've had some people reach out to me, and those of you who continue to reach out and ask questions, make sure you guys are following all social media accounts. But we've had some people reach out and say, does Tom Herman wear on guys? You know, just with how he is and personality-wise, you know, like they can be very demanding and all those type of things. Guys, I don't know. But what I do know is John just went through the evidence there of some of the lulls that we have. I think that's the area where he clearly has to grow as a head coach. And people don't like when I say this, but he is still a young head coach who is learning and growing and has clear strengths and clear weaknesses. And this is clearly one of his weaknesses that he must improve upon if he wants to have long-term success here at the University of Texas. I am still in on him as a long-term solution to lead this program to the heights that we want to get to. But he's got to clean that stuff up. And if he's being honest with himself and his staff, and maybe that's where he needs to look at some staff changes, because we may have some of the usual suspects in there and may need to change some things up, or, you know, maybe evaluate, hey, one of the things that it was funny, Des Bryant said this about the Cowboys coaching staff, was that he made a very interesting comment on Twitter about they never leave the training camp mentality. He was like, we come out and, training camps like, boom, 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 meeting, 2-a-day, all that. Well, 2-a-days don't exist anymore, but the grind, right? But he's like, they carry that over into the season. And he was like, one of the things I saw when I was on the Saints was that they have their training camp period and then the coaches, they flip over to more of a strategic type of role during the regular season. I think that may have some validity here with Tom Herman and his staff, where they're still because he talks about training and special forces and all those type of things. But are they shifting to more of a strategic mindset during the season where, we got to still maintain that physicality and maintain our edge, but we're also kind of here to say, guys, let's take care of our bodies. Let's be smarter during the season, right? Let's make sure everybody is playing fast because they know what's going on and those type of things, and keeping kids mentally engaged, whether it's more games or whatever, right? But point is, they got to figure it out. Mm-hmm. And it's going to start this week. K-State at home. We're not going to do K-State prep, but I'm going to tell you this right now. What are they, number 20? I think we opened actually a 6-point favorite. K-State is truth serum. And we talk about this in boxing, right? There's some boxers that come forward, exactly what they're going to do, like a Sean Porter. And they're going to, there's no adjustments or any. They're not going to try to trick you.
Nope.
K-State's not coming in here to trick us.
They're going to try to hiss them out.
They're going to try to punch you in the face, right? There's nothing, now I'm not saying they're very well, they're not going to beat themselves. Same type of mentality, right? And when we get into our prep, and hopefully John and I will be here to do that live, that's going to be the truth serum game to what has happened over this bye week right off the bat. And I like that. I like that they get to come in here again against another strong opponent with our guys coming back so we can eliminate some of those excuses, right? And see what this team really is, and hopefully they can rally together. Like I said, band of brothers mentality, us against the world. Let's prove everybody wrong. Whatever they got to do to get right in their heads. So I think it's got thing has to shift to more of a strategic mindset. But I mean, honestly, man, I'm just excited to see. Hopefully, Tom Herman comes out. We had a great week of practice.
He was gonna say that. Built those relationships.
But in all seriousness, though, guys, I'm really curious to get everybody's thoughts. John, I appreciate you, man, and your time. I appreciate you, man. Like I
Matthew,
said,
you too, as well.
Matthew has been doing a fantastic job behind the scenes. We're very, very thankful for all of his skills and whatnot. So, guys, we're going to wrap up here. I hear John's kids roaming around. It sounds like they woke up. Hopefully, everybody, all the kiddos, had a great Halloween as well. So, guys, horns always up.